Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Trellis and Trails Homestead. I'm Jacqueline. We are doing a little sourdough microbakery weekend. Today is Saturday, the 27th of April. I baked this loaf yesterday and have it all packaged up to be delivered or picked up. Usually my friends pick the loaves up, but today it is snowing outside. We're back in our sourdough era sweatshirt today. It's the theme of the day. And with the snow outside, it's the coziest sweatshirt that I have. So I'm really excited about wearing it today. You might hear the cat. She's already yelling. Story of my life. So I started this little these little microbakery weekends, or even during the week sometimes, back in January. And I've really just been selling to friends. I haven't opened it up to anyone else yet. Just coworkers, mostly friends, people that I know, and it's been really successful. Everyone's been so supportive and is ordering lots of things. So since January, when I do these little stretches, it's like once a month that I've been doing these little micro bakery stretches. So I've gotten anywhere from like 5 to 10, maybe 12 orders at a time for like a full 3 to 5 days, depending on how long I'm doing it over. This was just a 3-day weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday that I'm baking. And like I said, today is Saturday. Yesterday, I only did that one loaf. I had, I think, 8 or so orders this time. A few of them got pushed back into later next week. With my work schedule, my coworkers' work schedule, it just works out better for me to bake and then take it to them at work. So I really prefer to do these little stretches of micro bakery stuff when I'm off work for a few days. That works out really nicely. So we did that one loaf yesterday. It was just a plain loaf. Today I'm going to do some bagels. I have them sitting here to rise for a little while. But first I'm going to get to a loaf that I prepared last night. I need to put some inclusions in it. This is going to be an apple brown sugar cinnamon loaf. In between the loaf and the bagels, maybe I'll do the donuts, or I might just do the donuts after I cook the bagels, because they have already been rising now for about 30-45 minutes at least. I like for the bagels to rise for about 2 hours before I boil and bake them. So let's go ahead and get to this loaf that I have prepared, and we'll put the apple and brown sugar cinnamon inclusions in. I also need to put together some dough for a loaf that I'm making for a friend tomorrow. So I might go ahead and put the flour and water together first so it can auto-lyse. And then we'll get back to preparing that dough after we do our inclusions and get this loaf in the oven. I just like to maximize and make my time the most efficient when I'm doing these micro bakery days. Today's not so bad because it's only like one order that I'm doing today and preparing an order for tomorrow. But when I have multiple orders that I'm doing in a day, it's best to get up early, make sure that I am making the most effective use of my time. Today I got a little bit of a late start, but I know that this friend that I'm baking for doesn't really mind, and I'm not even sure if she's going to come pick it up today or tomorrow. I'll have to text her to see, but it's no rush today, so I'm not really worried about it. I need to clear some of this stuff out of the background. It is messy back there. So let me get that dough prepared for tomorrow, and then we'll come back to this loaf. peeled, and if I was making this for us, I probably wouldn't worry about peeling it. I have made a very similar loaf before with pear and brown sugar cinnamon. So today this is going to be apple and brown sugar cinnamon. But for somebody else, I don't know if they necessarily like the peels in it. So I just went ahead and peeled this apple. And normally I would roll my dough out a little bit and put everything inside of it. I have a whole video on my channel of baking a sourdough loaf. So if you're interested in seeing like the step-by-step process, go check out the video on my channel. I'm not going to go through the step-by-step process today, but in that video, you'll see that I kind of rolled my dough out a little bit to put the inclusions kind of on like the flat surface of it. But today I'm going to actually not do that. I have my dough here. I'm just going to kind of fold the ingredients in, because I noticed when I made the pear brown sugar loaf the last time, the pears kind of all sat just in the middle of the bread, kind of in like one spot basically. And the brown sugar and cinnamon was kind of just in the middle of the bread. I want it to be more spread throughout. So I think by just adding it into the bowl and then kind of stretch and folding it in, that'll help it be spread out a little bit more and not just be kind of sitting in one spot. So I'm going to chop these up into fairly small little dices. Okay, I have our apple brown sugar cinnamon loaf here. I have it in a loaf shape, a ball shape. It was pretty easy to just kind of dump all the toppings in, the inclusions, and then fold it in. I had to really work it in, but once I was able to get the dough kind of workable, it really wasn't that bad. So I'm gonna just toss this into the fridge for about 20 minutes before I bake it. It's so much easier to score your bread when it's cold. And this was bulk fermenting on the counter all night. It was pretty chilly in my house. It's like 66 degrees during the night. So it didn't overproof or anything like that. By bulk fermenting on the counter all night, it was totally fine. But I do want it to be a little bit chillier before I do the scoring just to make it easier. So we're gonna toss this in the fridge for a few minutes before we bake it. I already have the oven and the Dutch oven preheated, so that'll be ready to go. And then in the meantime, I'll probably go ahead and add the sourdough starter and salt to our other loaf that we're preparing for tomorrow and go ahead and work on that as well. While we're waiting on our loaf to finish cooling in the fridge before we score it, I'm gonna go ahead and mix up some bagel dough. I'm doing 2 6-pack of bagels tomorrow. One will be, initially I'm gonna do like a plain dough because I'm gonna add a cinnamon sugar topping to it once it's baked, or as I'm baking it. And then we'll take it out of the mixing bowl, put it in a separate bowl so that I can use the mixing bowl for the same dough but adding cheese and jalapeno to it for some jalapeno cheddar loaves. I have found that those work best when you go ahead and add the cheese and jalapeno to it while you're mixing it in the mixing bowl instead of adding it in later. It's just so much easier to have it already included into the dough and fully incorporated. So that's what we're gonna do now. I'm gonna start with the plain dough and set that one aside, and then we'll do the jalapeno cheddar dough. So I just mixed up our plain bagel dough. I kind of messed up. I didn't feed enough sourdough starter yesterday. So I'm gonna have to feed some sourdough starter this morning so that it'll be ready tonight to mix up for our jalapeno cheddar dough. I'll bring you guys back for that because I totally forgot. But here is our plain dough. So I'm just gonna let this sit in here for a little while. I'll put it in another bowl when I need to use this mixing bowl again in just a few. But for now, I'm just gonna let it sit here. All right, I took our apple cinnamon brown sugar loaf out of the fridge. It should be cool enough now. Yeah, it's definitely much cooler than it was. So I have our parchment down here. The only thing with these fruit inclusions is it makes the dough really watery. before it gets baked. So I'm just going to kind of scoop it out and try to leave quite a bit of the liquid in the bowl. And just kind of shape it a little bit real quick before I score it. It does get a little bit sticky on the bottom once it's baked just because of the brown sugar and the juices from the apple. But that's okay. It gets pretty well baked in that it's not a problem. So you can see some of the brown sugar and cinnamon wants to kind of slide out. I'm just going to get a towel. And kind of wipe it up a little bit. So I just want it to be shaped into a good ball dough shape before I score it. And I ran my bread lame under cool water. It's so much easier to score your bread if you run it under cool water first. So I'm going to do the small little slash marks, and then I'll do the big one in the middle to create the ear. It's easier to do the small ones on the sides first. And now that I've let my dough cool, there's so much more texture to it, so it's a lot easier to score it. We're going to do a deeper cut for the middle. It's going to go right through that apple. All right, you can see there's lots of apple in the middle there, and hopefully they don't spill out too much. I don't mind the apple being on top. I kind of like that. It'll kind of bake in, and if it doesn't, then that's okay too. But there's tons of apple throughout the middle, tons of brown sugar and cinnamon. So I think this is going to turn out really nice. So let's go ahead and put our parchment and loaf in the Dutch oven. This Dutch oven is preheated, so it's really hot. And I preheated it to 450 degrees. So we're just going to toss this in. I like to try to get all the wrinkles out of the parchment if I can, because it definitely will cause indentions on the bread. All right, and cover it back up. So we're gonna bake that loaf covered with the lid on for 25 minutes. And then after the 25 minutes, we'll take the lid off and bake it for another 25. Sometimes it takes about 30. So we'll see how long it needs. So I'm just gonna set a timer on the microwave. I'm gonna get my sourdough starter fed for the other bagel dough that I need to put together later. And then we'll probably start working on the donuts that I have for today's order as well. And then after this loaf is done, we'll either go ahead and make the donuts, or I'll go ahead and do the bagels next. day 1 of baking was a success. I got our bagels done, our donuts. This is probably still warm. I'll bring you guys down and show you everything, but look at our donuts. I haven't taken them out of the tin yet. Blueberry baked donuts. All of this is sourdough. And our beautiful apple cinnamon brown sugar loaf. How gorgeous is that? So, so pretty. It smells so good. I wish you guys could smell it because that makes the experience so much better. So we've got our donuts that I'm gonna glaze once I take them out of here. Our jalapeno cheddar bagels, our apple cinnamon loaf. Stunning. It all smells so delicious. I just wanna eat it now. So day 1 of this weekend's micro bakery, actually this is day 2 because I did bake a loaf yesterday, but today I did a lot more similar to what I normally do in my micro bakery weekends. So stay tuned. I'm gonna include tomorrow in this video as well. I didn't show the step-by-step process for all of these because I have a video on my channel on making every single one, a regular sourdough loaf, the bagels, and the sourdough blueberry baked donuts. So if you haven't seen those, go check those videos out on my channel. They're step-by-step guides, so if you want to make them yourself, it's so easy. The instructions are there for you. Tomorrow we're going to be baking another loaf and 2 packs of bagels. We're not doing the donuts tomorrow. We're just doing a loaf and bagels. successful microbakery weekend. As you can see, I have all the things here. You may not be able to see in this picture, but I'll film it for you. Several packages of bagels, 3 packages of bagels, a package of donuts, the blueberry donuts, the apple cinnamon loaf, a jalapeno cheddar loaf, a plain loaf. I also have 2 little mini loaves in the oven. Well, one's in the oven, one is over here waiting to go in the oven. For us, that I'm going to go ahead and bake since I'm already baking anyways. I'm trying out the mini loaves again, which is basically the same exact recipe. It is the same recipe as my regular full-size loaves. I just cut the loaf in half when it's ready to bake. And one I stuffed with chocolate chips and cacao powder. That one's in the oven right now. I've never done a chocolate chip one. I just experimented with putting that in there, so we'll see how that turns out. And then the other one I'm going to do jalapeno cheddar because I just love the jalapeno cheddar. They're my absolute favorite. And I was baking some of these, the jalapeno cheddar bagels and this loaf, and I was like, this smells so good. I have to have a jalapeno cheddar something this weekend. So we're going to bake that as soon as the chocolate chip one is done. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for this little sourdough microbakery weekend. I really appreciate the support from all of you guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.